because I was in fourth grade.
Oh.
This is my first
Great. Hi, everyone. This is the Health and Wellness Subcommittee meeting, April 30th, 2025 at 4:35 p.m. So we're going to call to order. So the first item on the agenda is just for everyone to introduce themselves, because I feel like it's a good way for us to like say hi, and then everyone on the recording can hear us.
We're going to start here. My name is Colleen Schnack. I'm the school nurse at String Lane and the nurse coordinator for the district.
I'm Jackie DiLorenzo, early childhood supervisor at Fishing Cove.
I'm Mike Raposa, parent and a youth athletic coach.
Susanna Tingley, parent.
Pam Panero, parent.
Sherry Kennedy, school committee member.
Karen Wetherill with Rhode Island Healthy Schools Coalition.
And Sally Davidson, Equity, Belonging, and Community Engagement Coordinator.
All right, so the next thing is citizens' comments, but we do not have anyone. And then the next thing is, which we're a little behind, is approving the minutes from the December 4th meeting, the January 8th, and the March 26th meeting. So I had sent all that out. You guys want a few minutes just to kind of like through it?
Motion to approve.
Action.
You want to do that?
Yes. All right. Pam, does anyone want to second it?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so the motion passes and all the minutes are now up to date. Okay, and then the next, I just always put this on, is for Karen to give a little update of the Rhode Island Healthy School Coalition and kind of what's going on.
Yeah, a few things. So just to let you know, yesterday was the first, this is the third year that we've talked about the bills at the Rhode Island State House around universal free school meals. And there was a hearing, the first hearing last night in House Finance. It was held for further study like most bills, and it hasn't yet been scheduled for a hearing in the Senate. Everyone probably has heard there's lots of changes in leadership with the passing of the Senate president, so it's so hard, and it's so hard for them to even make a budget with so much unknown. So there's a lot of support behind it, but I just don't know what will happen. But I think I mentioned to all of you that this year the change that we made, or the sponsors made based on input from leadership and other members of the General Assembly, was that it's a 3-year, it would be a 3-year implementation. So if it were to pass, first year all elementary school students would be free, the following year would add middle school students, and then finally the high school students would be in year 3, which would make it a little bit easier to budget. So that was last night. Did want to mention that, and I don't remember if you all, maybe Sherry, I don't think since you've been involved you've done this, but technically, and as your policy that you wrote states, that you would do a triennial assessment, which means at once every 3 years at a minimum, there's a federal requirement that you assess the implementation of your policy. So it's not just to say we have this policy and we wrote it, but like, how is it directing practices in schools? And so we are doing a webinar with the RIDE Child Nutrition Program team on Tuesday, May 20th at 4 p.m. It's a virtual webinar on assessing your local wellness policy, what you need to know and why. And really going over some of the tools, which that's what I'm not sure if, I feel like a few years ago maybe they did it. We developed a checklist spreadsheet, and the reason why the WellSat, which is the tool that we used and most districts across the country use to assess your policy language. So again, that's the written policy. That's from the Rudd Center, and they just came out with a new platform, and they developed an assessment of implementation. But the limitations with that are that it doesn't have any of the Rhode Island laws and regulations in it.
Okay.
And then second, and I've talked to them about it, but they just have, it's one assessment, so when we did ours, we did a spreadsheet, every school does it, and then there's a district summary, because our belief is that your elementary schools, different things could be going on, so you really need to, if you really wanna understand what's happening and support and share the positive things that are happening, and then identify what might be the things you can work on, you really need to do it by school. So years ago, we had this tool, so we're gonna review both of those.
Okay, is the webinar open to everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, so we'll be putting it in at the end of the week, our e-news will come out.
Okay.
But I will be sending a direct email to the chair, so you will get it, of all the wellness committees, and as well, the child nutrition program will send it out to all their contacts. So that's a lot of the business managers, school food service, but really anybody on a committee. So if you wanted to then share it with the group, it's open to anybody who would be interested in joining. And then finally, I think I mentioned this, but we're just excited because we have it all planned now, and that is the celebration for the 10th year anniversary of Recess Rocks, which all of your elementary schools have participated in. So it will come out in our e-news as well, and then it will also come out from Playworks to the contacts at the schools. But there'll be 2 contests for the kids to get involved in. So for the little ones, K through 3, it's a poster contest, everything. It's basically like a template on what do I like about recess. They can color, draw, put some simple words, and submit those, and we'll have, and this is just for the schools that are part of the Recess Rocks family. And then we'll be selecting 3 winners from each grade, and then for the older 4th, 5th kids, we're doing a recess champ, and we're looking for adults in the schools to nominate students that they see who are leaders and exemplify the kind of student that is, is a leader on the playground, that is kind to other people, that gets involved and has play, and is, a leader on the playground. So it's just a simple nomination form, and then same thing, there'll be winners from all around the state. And we'll be inviting all the winners to the State House on June 3rd, and we're having the governor read a proclamation for Recess Day, and having an event with, because the recess law was also passed at that year, and some of those legislators who were involved in getting that law passed will be in attendance, and just a celebration really of kids and the importance of play. So, and then there's lots of other things, and one I'm just gonna mention because I think it sounds great. There's a teacher she's actually a middle school teacher in Narragansett, but has a local nonprofit, and this will be included in the e-news. But on May, on May 18th, it's called Mindful, it's a professional development, Restoring the Spirit at Sunset. And she's doing yoga, breathing techniques, medication, DIY, gratitude jars, community candle lighting, sound healing, really focused on educators. She's an educator, she's done this for the past few years. She has degrees in integrated wellness, and you can get 3 PLUs, so you'd have to get approved here in the district, but she does it in Narragansett at the North Club Beach House. So I've seen photos from past event, which it just looks like a nice way maybe for some educators who would be interested to end their year in community with others, and yeah, so that's something. It's from 4:45 to 7:45 on the 18th, but that will be in our e-news as well. So just a few highlights.
All right, thank you. Is anyone, any questions?
The triennial thing on the wellness, that's on the wellness policy, right? So like that's written into our wellness policy, is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so should it be done like that 3rd year or by the 3rd year? So I'm just looking, we passed it, it looks like July 2023. So is that something we should start sooner, cause you need time to do that?
Yeah, I think you should look at it. Essentially, it's for, and I don't know, we'd have to ask Trish, when the last time, that is what the federal regulation says. once every 3 years, this should be done. Post-COVID, I have to say, many districts have not been doing that, so that's why we're trying to get it back on, to have everyone be aware of this. But it will be reviewed when you have your administrative review, so when the auditors come in to look at your school meal program, they've always looked at things like, the budget, you know, the financials of it, the nutrition standards, the menus, the, procurement, all of those things, and looking at the program. But now they're gonna be looking and saying, where's your wellness policy? Are you assessing it? So you wanna be prepared for that. So I would say, put it on when you feel, you know, understand what it is, you know, think about it, but typically, each principal, you'd send it to the principal, and then the principal, and we're very clear, and we'll go through this in the webinar, the principal's not gonna be able to answer every question, because you know what the policy is, it's like you're gonna have to ask, and so everybody could fill out the Google form together, like food service, answer these questions, the PTO leaders answer this, the PE teachers answer this, and it's just a, like a rubric, we're either meeting the standard, exceeding, or needs improvement, place to make notes, and then at the end, there's a district summary, so you can put in all the scoring, and it'll put together a nice summary, and that kind of shows you as a district where you're at, and then you can maybe help to identify goals too for following years.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing is, our final review about the chemical health and student safety policy. So first, I think there's been a lot of sort of confusion around how the policies came to us, and ultimately they are going back to the policy subcommittee for them to review and make any changes that they might want before it goes to the school committee. So I kind of thought, I feel like we sort of got wrapped up into it a lot instead of actually doing other stuff that I think, you know, we could be doing for the health and wellness. So I kind of wanted to just see if there was anything else we wanted to add, and then my plan is for us to, we have to vote to move it to the policy subcommittee, and then I'll actually put a summary together about like why we came up with all these reasons why we changed or didn't change what we had.
So the last time, at the meeting, it was, right, was it gonna be sent to the student assistance counselor for feedback?
It was, so I did send it, but I was thinking because I sent it versus an administrator, I think she wasn't sure how to respond back to it. So that's the other thing, is I probably either, Rob wasn't at that meeting, but probably I should have had him send it versus me send it. So I do know, I think I'm gonna give that recommendation that I think they should reach out, especially because there also is counselors at the 2 middle schools, so I think all 3 of the counselors putting input into this would be a good idea, just because obviously it's an existing policy, and seeing how, you know, if it's working for them now, or what things they think could be good to change or not change, and then they would give feedback to the policy subcommittee, and then it eventually would go to the subcommittee. So I think going forward, the only policy that we need to vote on that would go right to the school committee is the health and wellness policy, if we make any changes.
Is there a page missing, or is it out of order? Because it kind of abruptly ends on page.
Oh, I didn't print these out, but
Okay.
I think you're
Because
right.
it goes like 3.
It goes 1 and there's no 2.
1, 3, 5,
Hmm.
7, 9.
It's only odd numbers.
Yeah. So
Well, it's on the back, but yeah, it's weird.
But
One.
it's
But that's
Yeah.
page, I don't know.
No, but I did send it, so I did,
Yeah, it is.
I did with an email, and I didn't really change anything
Yeah.
except what we talked at the last
Right.
meeting, kind of
We
about.
just added in
Yeah,
parents, I think both places.
And there were,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're just voting to move it, we're
Yeah.
not voting on it.
Right, and
Yeah.
I personally think, and I'll send my own email, but like, this was before you were chair.
yes.
You know, there was, and it's really unfortunate and I think very unfair to us members who are led by our chairs. And again, this happened before you were chair. You know, that was never presented to us in that way. You know, it was on our agenda, so we discussed it and we did a deep dive and all of that. So I think that process could clearly be fixed.
Yeah, and I feel like having been on the committee before being on the school committee, we had a lot of chairs.
Mhm.
So, I'm planning on me being consistently here for my entire term. So, I hope that makes the difference, I think, of us not like picking up stuff and then it sort of would fall. Alright, so
Hopefully. I'm sure it will.
it's my plan. I
Yeah.
hope so. I agree. So does someone wanna make a motion to move this to the policy subcommittee?
I'll make a motion to move this to the policy subcommittee.
Alright, does someone wanna second it?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alright. So now on to new business, which I'm very excited about. So I know we kind of talked a lot. So Kayla had come before, I want to say it was probably more than a year ago, to our subcommittee to talk about the North Kingstown Prevention Coalition. I know our committee's talked a lot about vaping prevention, and I know when Rob was on the committee, he talked about how it's a big issue at the high school, but I think back, because now I'm going to sound old, but like cigarettes were a big deal when I was a kid, and I felt like you started talking about it when you were much younger so that you didn't even try it when you were older. So I feel like we need to be a little proactive and sort of get the kids on the page of that it's not a great thing to do. So, so Kayla is going to give us all the great information on the stuff that the North Kingstown Prevention Coalition has going on and what we could do.
So kind of what we were saying that we're missing this piece, this is kind of where my coalition steps in. So I'm Kayla Van Gordon. I am the leader of the North Kingstown Prevention Coalition. I live in town. I went through the North Kingstown School Department and I now teach 5th grade at Quinnesset. So all of my stakes are in North Kingstown. So I just wanted to start with a quote that I found was really important in regards to prevention as a whole. So if you want to deal with an epidemic, really anything from crime to health, the smartest and most effective and cheapest way to deal with it is prevention first. I know we've done a lot of work at the high school about remedial tasks if a student is caught vaping. We have this really great curriculum that they use. If a student's caught vaping, they then have to go through this program that's educational based about vaping with parent permission. But I think we really need to start before they're caught with that vape and mitigate any use at all. This is one of the events that we do at the Washington County Fair. This was my first time at the Washington County Fair. It's a very interesting event. But we do a lot of outreach and tabling based on anything from mental health to wellness across the age span. So we work with babies to seniors, all related to mental health and substance abuse prevention. So today I want to go over, I won't take too much of your time, our mission as a coalition, the Rhode Island coalitions, which oversee what I do, the Department of Behavioral Health, which is where we get our funding. We're a grant-based organization. The team, some of our evidence-based programs, our campaigns, and then we have 2 really great programs that are based just for parents that I think are really, really valuable anywhere. This is just a little saying we have is be kind to your mind, live drug-free. So our goal too is never don't do, it's educating students or adults on what substances will do to their body and then allowing them to make their own choice. I was in the district during DARE, which was a lot of no, 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 and based on evidence of how my generation grew up, defiant students or defiant individuals tended to lean more into using those substances because they had been told not to. Whereas evidence-based education is a little bit different because it's allowing for them to make a choice and take ownership in deciding to choose their own health. So our mission as the North Kingstown Prevention Coalition is committed to providing educational services and resources through forums such as school districts, community centers, marketplaces, restaurants, and many more things. In coming years, I hope to make our information public and the resources more readily available to the public in hopes of reaching a larger audience. I'm probably biased because I am a teacher, but I think education is the first step to any change. And that's really where I've tried to pivot this coalition to. I'm looking to do less of the tabling and more of getting into the schools, providing programming, providing resources for parents, because I think that's where we'll see the most change. We still do a lot of the tabling events at any local events, but I really want to gear it towards education. So we're organized through Rhode Island regional coalitions. We have several different umbrella coalitions. We fall under South County, so we work with Narragansett. Block Island actually has their own coalition, South Kingstown, and then Charahoe and Westerly are a joint coalition. We have a really great team, but we're all working towards the same goal. We just strive for healthy lifestyles and deeper understanding of complexities of both mental health and substance abuse. We get all of our funding from the Rhode Island Department of Behavioral Health Care, Developmental Disabilities, and Hospitals. We had received word that we had to look into our funding based on leadership within our country at this point, but as of right now, we're operating as we would. The Department of Behavioral Health really isn't going to be affected from what is said, so our grant money is going to continue coming, which is really great. And the goal of this organization is just to guarantee a high quality of life for the individuals within the state, really living anywhere from an assisted living place to somewhere within a home with a family. So this is my team. Our regional manager, Heidi, Lily, and Natalie are both grant managers. So different things that we do come from different grants, and that's who is monitoring them. And then Lori Ann does all of our Parenting Incredible Years programs. They've come here before as well. And then a little bit more about myself. I'm Kayla. I went to URI, I grew up in North Kingstown, and I've been doing this is my second year, so just still trying to get it geared in the way that I would like. And my goal being here is, part of my contract is I have to have monthly meetings. And one of the things that I'm seeing with the monthly meetings is everyone I would like to speak to is standing in front of me right now. So rather than reinventing the wheel, I'm gearing towards being a part of the Health and Wellness Committee, even if it's just as public comment, because I think this should be a part of the health and wellness of students and members of our community. So we do evidence-based programs, so these are all programs that have to be documented and followed a certain way, and they're all based on research that has been done. So the two main ones that we implement are Media Detective and Media Ready. They're very similar, they're just based on age brackets. So Media Detective is grades 3 to 5, and it's these two detectives, and they're looking at media. So the whole goal is, it's an evidence-based program designed to give the youth the ability to analyze media messages, recognize unhealthy behavior, and prevent substance abuse through the power of media literacy education. So we start very simple in both of these programs. Media Ready is just a little bit more complex. It's grades 6 to 8. Just talking about how advertisements on television, which I feel old because the kids will look at me now and say, there are no advertisements on my television, or what is a newspaper, or we don't listen to the radio. But advertisements are geared towards children. And a lot of vaping products and alcohol brands also gear their advertisements towards children with cool graphics or animals or things that would catch a student's attention. In the early 2000s, there was a Budweiser commercial about frogs. And when there was a study done, a group of kids went to school on Monday after the Super Bowl, and when asked what they remembered, almost all of them stated the Budweiser commercial about the frogs. So teaching the kids that that's not done unintentionally, and giving them more ownership in viewing media, especially with social media. A lot of it that we do now is based on what they'll see on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, because they pop right up in front of them. And it's, yes.
Is that so when you're saying these are being used, are they being used in the health curriculum? Because I know some districts use it in the health curriculum.
We don't have this in our health curriculum. I've run it as summer programs, after school programs,
okay.
But I recently just got trained in this. So it's one of our bigger pushes, because with our change in leadership as a country, we're looking more so at evidence-based programs because they want to see the numbers and the effect size of it. So this is one of our big pushes as a coalition. I also took a lot of ownership in this because I think it's educational, and the kids you see them really get into it. And to say that it's just a high school problem, I think is not true, because if you ask a 5th grade student or a 5th grade class, almost every single one of them has seen a vape, has held a vape, knows someone that vapes, It's something that's trickling down farther. So evidence-based programs being implemented within the elementary schools will be beneficial, I think, in addition to the health curriculum. The health curriculum is great, but it's being taught one day a month. And so you have 1 day of vaping, and that's no one's fault, but we just don't have time. So to kind of double down on it, when you teach a child a new skill, you don't just leave it, you have to then revisit it and learn more about it. So I think any additional programming that we can have would be beneficial.
But this would be for which selected student, like which students would be able to take part in this? You said it's a summer program?
I've run it before through the rec program. It could also be voluntary on any sort of after school programs that they have. We also have funding to train people. So although I'm a trained teacher, I can't go to every school. I could run summer programs. But we would train other teachers at other schools if they wanted to get involved in this. Or if not myself, one of my other team members, like I can't do one of the programs that we're running in Narragansett this summer, so one of the other women is doing it.
How much time does each program, like what is the curriculum like? Is it?
It's about 10 hours. I don't think it really takes that long. They get a booklet and it's all about going through advertising strategies. I can pull it up actually.
Do you mean 10 hours per grade level?
Just per session, because you can teach it chunked. So you could teach 3 to 5 and 6 to 8. So it comes like this. It's just a notebook, and you go through, and you can also tailor the ads to it. So if you had a younger group that you didn't want as much exposure, they can still get the media literacy component of it, which I think is still really important. And you go through and there's just little activities. There's a different teacher model, but I would use this one in the classroom. And you talk about what is media, and then you grow to the point where you're analyzing advertisements. So what is the product? Who is the audience? What is the ad hook? What's the hidden message? And it really breaks down advertisements for kids to see.
Did you do this during the summer squad?
No, the last time I did this, we run it as an after-school program, and then we did it once. I used to run a lot of the rec programming for the middle schoolers, so we did a media ready program as well, which went really well. It is hard. I find it to be more difficult to implement through recreation because kids are not there to sit and read, and they want to have fun in the summer. But this is another great program to increase family engagement, because the end goal of this program is that they create a counter ad. So if someone is trying to sell you a pair of sneakers, you would create an ad for you not to buy the pair of sneakers, and then you present it at like a family night. So there's a lot of different levels to just these two programs that are beneficial. We also do a lot of campaigns within the town. So one of the ones that we do a lot with the North Kingstown Police Department is drug take back. I think this would be really beneficial to be broadcasted in schools too, because any unused or expired medication is really not safe to have in the house. It should be turned in. The police department will take it, no questions asked. A lot of times if it's one of our events, you'll get a little bag of goodies from one of the coalitions, because we really want people to get rid of this medication, especially with young kids in the house. Things like opioids, they're very easy to accidentally overdose on, and making sure that kids don't get their hands on those things. We also provide lock bags. All of this is free too, so lock up your medication. And I will go to all open houses in the district and table and offer all of this, all of our products out to the parents at the open houses. We also do, before we get into this, our goal is also to educate at sports nights. As part of our policy, we're supposed to have some sort of substance abuse talk at each middle school and the high school for substance abuse prevention education for the sports teams. I know they had it a lot when I was younger. It's difficult to schedule, but that's definitely one of my goals as the coalition leader, that I would like to bring that back. We come in as a vendor, but we do it for free. So it's no additional cost, it's just a matter of scheduling. The last one we did, I think, was 2 years ago, and we educated on accidental opioid overdose. And we have access to Narcan that we can pass out. So we have lots of free, beneficial things in addition to our educational educational products. So we also do a lot with the social host rule. This applies a lot more to the high school students. So we have a grant that we actually give to the police departments to do compliance checks and party patrol on like high school graduation night or prom night, getting extra cars out to ensure students aren't driving under the influence or partying. A lot of people don't know that if you are having a party and you buy the alcohol and minors at the party are drinking it, you are then liable legally for that. So we also do sticker shock. We go into local liquor stores and we sticker all the boxes. I like doing that. You spend like an hour just over and over. And they just say, do not share this with anyone under the age of 21. Bars and compliance checks will send someone around the age of 21 into a liquor store or a tobacco dealer. And if they get carded, they pass. And if they don't get carded with their ID, they don't pass a compliance check, to make sure that our local businesses and distributors are making sure they're not selling to someone under the age of 21. And then we also provide tip certification programs for local restaurants or bars. So just trying to attack it from all different angles, in addition to education. These are two of my favorite things. Lydia is a big help with these for me because we send them out through the Family Center at Quidnesset. We do parenting groups. So we talked a lot about what we can do for the kids, but parents do the best that they can, and sometimes they do need a little bit of help, and it's not always easy to ask for. So our first preschool program is from ages 3 to 5, and the second one is from 6 to 12, and it's a really great community of support that gives guidance to parents struggling with any sort of behavioral issues or any sort of mental health issues or substance abuse with their children. And they're given tools and resources, as well as, I think one of the more important parts of it is just a community of support. We find that a lot of the groups that come together end up hanging out or staying in touch afterwards, because as they say, it takes a village. So these are also free, and a lot of times with these, childcare is provided or they're offered virtually. I think in our town, there is a need for something like this with the diverse populations that we have, and the access that a lot of our families have to programs and assistance that they may need. In accordance with that, we have a parent backpack. So our online program, Parent Backpack, it takes you through the lifespan of a child or the age range of a child, and it gives you resources, phone numbers for behavioral health emergencies, parent resources, substance use resources, mental health resources, and anything else related to family and adolescence. So it has everything from the suicide hotline to poison control on it. Just a really simple resource that I don't think is shared enough. And that's kind of why I'm here too, is that I think my sharing within my coalition has reached its peak, and now I'm looking to expand even further. So it's stated that the last year's Substance Use Prevention Month, over 3/4 of youth don't use substances, and we're looking to increase that or bring more validity to that, depending on how honest the students wanted to be on their surveys. But that is just our goal. If you can stop something from even happening, you don't have to worry about fixing it. So thank you. If you have any questions.
I'm just kind of curious too, like the curriculum, do you have ideas like how could it be implemented better in the, in
The health curriculum?
Yeah, or like how could we get it to the schools in a different way? So
I'm
that
not
the kids-
as familiar with the health curriculum. I think my knowledge of it is when I quite honestly bring my students to health.
Yeah.
They have like a magazine they bring home. They do an activity. They have to pass the activity to get through that. I think it's a challenging topic though, because you can tell me if I'm wrong. There's just not a lot of time, and it's so important, but the students need a set number of minutes of physical education. They need a set number of minutes of ELA. So I think it's a hard question that I don't really know if I have the answer to. I think my initial thought would be after school programming, or something extracurricular to involve the kids in, other than trying to squeeze something else into the school day. Also summer programming.
So I think if I could just respond, like, to your question, Sherry, and you're right, there's not a lot of minutes in the school
Yeah.
day, instructional minutes, and it's there is a law, the only, content area that has a law behind it, which is that it's 100 minutes, per week on average, and depending on what level you're in, how that works. But the health education, and your district spent quite a lot of time reviewing and
Yep.
selecting new health education, is really now based on skills, not just on content. So the national and the state adopted the same national skill standards, one of which is learning how to identify credible information. Like that media, that's why I think that's great. And every kid, that's a really important skill, and you could use that for anything, right? Whether it could be, how do I learn about vaping, what about, tobacco products or other illegal substances, or, it could be any topic in health, right?
They're
Vaccines.
definitely
or-
doing some of that, I think.
Yeah,
so
My-
that's what I was
my
gonna, it
kids
should be
have
in
knowledge
there.
of how to critique media. I mean, they
Yeah.
learned it at school. Like, I don't know, cause like the librarians too, at
Yeah,
the
media studies,
elementary
yeah.
level do a lot of, some of that stuff already.
But it might be reaching out, so I just think there could be parts of it, it's great, like, and you never know, you have to come at it
Yeah.
several different
Yeah.
ways and several different times, but I kinda
Like
get it,
how
you'd
to
like it to
include
be
it into it.
more, so more students would be,
Reach, yes.
yeah, but maybe reaching out to the curriculum director or the chair, do you guys have a, chair, department chair?
Yeah, we have curriculum director, so yeah, maybe
Yep.
that,
Yeah, for health and just to ask, I don't know if it could be available to them, like you said, I know that they can't necessarily spend 10 hours, but there could be pieces of it that could, inform, cause it really is an important, and it is part of their framework,
Yes.
that's one of the skill standards.
Mhm.
And the other thing I wanted to mention was, like, if you, at the Department of Education, when this question comes up a lot, like, there's so much to cover, it's looking at your data, like your community's data, to determine, and that could change every year, like what content you wanna use to inform that skill. So if vaping has become a big issue, that's something that really you should be, doing in your health education class. So it might just, if they don't know about it, maybe there's something that's why you're such a good resource for the community and the schools.
Thank you.
Cause you have expertise in this area.
Yes. And I do think the PE teachers, especially in the district, I love the ones that I've worked with or had. I think this is new to them too. So this is the first year that they're teaching this health, and I think they're doing an amazing job with it. And maybe that will come, that they're looking for something additional in a skill that they think needs more resources, just like all teachers do. If something doesn't work, we switch it and try again, but just an additional resource.
cause could part of the, 10 hours, could they pull part of it out to coincide?
When I've
Like,
done
it doesn't
it-
have to be the whole.
No. I've done it over like 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and it's bits of time. I also think that the 10 hours in the curriculum, it can be shortened, depending on how you want to move through it. So I think it could be really more so anywhere from 5 to 10, depending on the group you're working with, depending on the literacy levels of the student you're working with. There's a lot of different factors as to how quickly you could move through the program.
Does the curriculum have a cost, and what's, like, you have to be trained to use the curriculum, I would assume?
I'm a trained instructor. I've never had to pay for the coalition paid for me to become a trainer, and I think that there's money to train others, and they don't charge for any of the programming that we use. So that's another thing free.
Does it have to be accredited by anything, like to our policy standards? If you're teaching so much of substance and whatever it is, does it have to come from an accredited source? Are you an accredited source, or
Well,
it's
it's
just a
evidence-based curriculum already, so it should be safe. But basically what happens with curriculum is that there is a review cycle. Like, curriculum gets reviewed on a cycle, I think it's every 5 years, I wanna say, in North Kingstown. And so if they're just adopted and teachers are getting comfortable with a health curriculum this school year, then it might not be up for formal review for some time, but it doesn't sound like a super heavy lift, this curriculum, so they might be willing to adopt like one lesson and incorporate that. It would be a conversation, like you would probably wanna reach out to the director of curriculum and then with the teaching staff as well, because they have to kind of be on board, I think,
Mhm.
to do it with fidelity
And I think too, with the curriculums changing sometimes from a teacher perspective, it's like you get
a lot.
Yes, you get used to it and then it changes. So I think if they are right in the thick of trying to understand it, that's something to take into account too, which is where, although it's not reaching the scope of students that I would like, after school programs or summer programming could come in handy as well.
And it might be interesting for you to learn what, because as you said, I do think it is part of it. Any new health curriculum is really
Yes.
Yeah,
focusing
I'm pretty
on.
The
sure
skill.
The
when they
electronic.
picked this one, it was because
Yes,
it had a
correct.
vaping lesson.
Yeah.
But I
So
don't know what
whether
the
or
vaping
not
lesson-
it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's in 4th grade and 7th grade, and that's why I was thinking
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
feel like you were saying, but the consistency of every year versus,
Yeah.
you know, because they're in 4th grade and then all of a sudden now they're in 6th grade at middle school and you're not
I was
gonna.
looking, could we get like, the posters, like about vaping, like, I don't know if you had mentioned
Yes,
free,
they were
there
from the
are
health
free.
department,
Yeah.
free.
If we could put those up in all 3 schools and then.
That's
I'll
also
send that back to
something,
you, Sherry,
like
that
at the high school,
Yeah.
a lot of the, they're in the bathroom and they're, like the suicide hotline and all different mental health hotlines and all of the vaping signs, that's all from us. So we also provide the recreation department with all of the signs that go at the public parks and beaches for no vaping being allowed. So that's definitely something too that we can advocate for. Just coming here to see what we need as a committee too. Media detective was just one idea. Maybe it's not what we do right now, or maybe it's not what we push into schools right now. But something like signs or posters, that's definitely somewhere where we can pivot money into. And in my opinion, you can tie that to being evidence-based. How many students walk by that poster a day? Hundreds. You're reaching hundreds of kids.
But they do find, I've heard now for several years, the research has proven sometimes that those posters, and like you said with DARE, it just didn't work. And telling kids the impact on their health or how harm could be done, it just doesn't impact them at their developmental age. But what does, they said, is exactly what you're talking about here. You are being taken advantage of. They are designing these, advertisements and media to just take your money and look at how they're designed. Like, those lessons do work, which is why I think that they're developing more of those, because there is an evidence base behind them. So
We've also been working too with the counselors at the middle school level. We have different programs that we try. One of the ones we found to be really beneficial at the Washington County Fair actually is What's in a Vape. So it's a table that goes around and it's like you have literally a canister of gasoline, like insect repellent, paint thinner, and it's all right there visually in front of you.
That's what I was thinking.
And that's
Yeah.
that's what's in a vape. And
Yeah.
so that's something that we've run through the middle schools too. I guess we just want to be more involved within the committee in the school department too. So if it's not media detective, but it's what's in a vape or posters, I just wanted to offer myself as a resource.
Does the coalition offer assemblies of any kind?
So we did, when we, my first year here, we did the sports night at the high school, the fall sports night. And we did a really great assembly on the opioid overdose. We have different ones that we do, so it's not the same every year either. So if we projected it in a way of when we started with the freshman class, we did opioids. Then by the time they were sophomores, we did marijuana. And so we could change the topic of the sports night, so they're not hearing the same thing every year.
Why did that stop?
We had scheduling trouble. I think it was also too with a lot of the change in administration.
Okay.
I
Because
think,
they do a sports meeting every season now at the high school.
and
So there's at least 3 opportunities.
and so that has always been our goal, is to
Yeah.
get in there, but we haven't been able. And that was another, with sitting on this committee, I was hoping, and talking more with the administrative team to make that something that is required.
Yeah, because that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, and it's, again, you don't have to pay, it's not a vendor, we're coming in for free and giving the same state mandated education that maybe someone would have to pay for. And we can also change it for grade levels, so we'd love to do it at the middle schools too.
And this was the first, I think the middle schools don't have that, but there's
Right.
talk that they're going to start, because I know, like, my kids go to DMS, and they did for the spring sports. But the funny thing is the kids weren't invited, only the parents were. But there was stuff, like, I feel like that would have been an opportunity for all the kid athletes.
Parents too, you know?
We
Yeah.
do,
But that would have been good if
Yeah.
maybe next year they do both, and then it'd be a way for the parents and kids to hear.
yes, at the high school open house in the past, we've done hidden in plain sight. So it's a bedroom, and there's all different gadgets, but they look completely plain. So like if it was my glasses,
Oh.
the sides would come off, and it would actually be a vape. And it's things that you can buy on Amazon, or water bottles with like a second bottom where you could hide marijuana. So we're educating the parents as well in that. That's always I like doing that one because it's always, I learn something.
Yeah.
But I wonder even if that, you know, I know the elementary schools, they have like an enrichment, like they either stay after school or some of the, I don't know, events where the parents are having that, like, you know, what's in the vape. I would like them to see that
Yeah.
at the elementary level to get, and I don't know if that's telling them or, but I do think it would be impactful. So by the time, hopefully, maybe they see a vape, they're thinking, oh, I don't
I
want to put that.
find even at an
I know.
elementary school level, I put that in like the same category as productive struggle, because they on their own, we're not saying like this is what's in a vape. It's just out in front of them, and they kind of have to manipulate through the program, and then they get to the end and they're like, oh my goodness. When we did it at the Washington County Fair, we had an adult get his way through it, and we watched him walk over and throw his vape away. Because it was just such an aha moment. So I don't think that that's, it's kind of like saying, here is a container of insect repellent that kills things. Do you want to put this in your body? And I would say almost 10 times out of 10, they're going to say no. And then it's connecting it to, well, this is what is in a vape. Would you drink gasoline? No. Well, that is what's in a vape.
Were you guys at the 350th Family Day?
Yes, we were.
So you'll do
Or
this-
no, I'm sorry. We were at the NK Pride Parade. We were not at the 350th Family Day.
Cause they're doing a second one, so that might be a good opportunity
Mhm.
because there'll be a lot of kids and
Yes.
and families.
And we try to, with events like that, we do try to table. We do try to do all the open houses. We try to do any of the book events or the NK Pride Parade. We did not make it to the 350th one, but yes, any information about public events, please feel free to share, and we would love to.
Well, they're doing it again in the fall, I believe.
Another 350th?
Well,
another family
second-
day.
Oh, okay,
second
okay.
Family day, it'll be
Okay.
the 351st, but because it was such a big hit,
Yes.
they're gonna do it again.
Okay.
So, I mean, there was a ton of people
Mhm.
there, I mean,
Yes.
and all ages.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, thank you all so much. I appreciate you
Thank
listening.
you.
Thank you.
Yes. And I'm a North Kingstown employee, so I have an NKSD email too, if you just search my first and last name. But I check both emails, so if you ever need to get in touch with me, and I plan to continue to come to the meetings, just even to listen in or update you on what we have as well.
Kayla, can I ask you a quick question?
Of course,
The
Lydia.
backpack thing that you mentioned?
Yes.
Is it a physical bag?
No,
or is
it's,
it a virtual thing?
I can pull it up. Sorry. This was actually something I found in doing this because I had known about the IY program. So it's just a link, and as you scroll down, it groups your resources. This is one that I find to be particularly helpful because I've had students who have had behavioral struggles, and parents have come to me and kind of been like, you have all of these resources at school, what do I do when they come home? And it's a challenging topic, but this is one of the sets of resources. So there's a whole pamphlet and manual, and then resources just for parents. These are for substance use in kids and teens. These are for mental health resources. Kids Link is one that you can call, I think, at any time, and someone will answer and kind of guide you as to what you should do in the situation. Do you need to go to the hospital? Is this something you should call the pediatrician about? That's really beneficial. And then any other family or adolescent resources. So like Big Brother, Big Sister, the Child Abuse Hotline, family services, mental health counseling. Just, I think, a lot of great resources for parents all in one place. Yes. Well, thank you all very much.
Oh, thank you, and I think you gave us a lot of, I definitely am gonna.
Yes, I think I gave you a lot of information, but I will be back. I think once maybe it sits with you, but I don't mean to overwhelm.
No, I think it's good to just like share ideas and things that I think ways we could, you know, kind of even incorporate it into things. All right, that was all I had on the agenda, so I just need to adjourn a little early. It's 5:25. Thank you guys for all coming. Our next meeting is Wednesday, May 14th.
Thank you.
Only in 2 weeks?
It isn't, yeah, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Does this one get moved? Did this one get moved? I don't know.
No,
I don't